Peter King with another stellar job on the MMQB.com. He broke it all down, and he joins me here now on the Rich Eisen Show. Peter, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Sure, Rich. How's it going?
I am doing well. So how did this all come about?
Well, I think you have to understand two things about sort of the basic tenets of this deal. There was not one player who John Robinson, the general manager, the rookie GM of the Tennessee Titans, felt like he had to have. And, you know, Rich, I mean, you got Laramie Tunsil, who is coming from a spread system to more of a meat and potatoes offense in Tennessee. Could he adjust? Sometimes those spread tackles don't adjust very well. And, you know, is Jalen Ramsey a pure corner playmaker type? They had 3 interceptions the last 3 years. So I think there was some dubiousness inside the Titans that there was a no-doubt absolute franchise player, even if not at the quarterback position, there at number 1. And obviously, it's easy for the Titans to give away the number 1 pick in the draft when clearly you've already got a franchise quarterback. You know, conversely, the Rams didn't have a franchise quarterback. And no matter what they said about Case Keenum, you know, obviously it's the weak position on their team. If they want to be any better than third in the NFC West, behind Russell Wilson in Seattle and Carson Palmer in Arizona, they had to massively overpay to move up to get the quarterback of their dreams. And it just so happened in this particular year, the team sitting at number 1 was in a mood to trade, which obviously if they needed a quarterback in Tennessee, they would never have made this trade. They would have just sat there and picked their guy.
Peter King joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So who were the other teams that were in on this? Because I'm sure the Rams is...
I think Philadelphia was in on it, Rich. I don't know that for sure, but 2 people I spoke to today after this trade are actually 2 people I texted with, excuse me.
Yep.
Both said that they thought the other team, because it was clear that there was one other team involved. And I think the other team was Philadelphia. I don't know that for sure, but I think the feeling in the NFL is that Philadelphia also was trying to get up. And who knows? You say it's Carson Wentz at number 1, and I don't doubt you when you say that. I just don't know who that is at number 1. And I was told this morning that this trade and doing it now gives the Rams 2 weeks to chase all the ghosts they need to chase, to look into everything about both players. And I'm told categorically that they will be doing work on both players in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, you don't make this trade if you don't have an idea who you're going to pick at number 1. And you don't have an idea who you like better. But I was told today that the Rams are going to work on both guys very thoroughly in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had Mayock on earlier in the show, and he thinks it's Wentz, and there's no question about it. But that said, I've interviewed Jim Morris Sr. so many times, and he tells a story all the time about how they grinded tape on Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf right down to the last second. All the time. And that's what I guess you have to do with due diligence and when you're talking about so much at stake at the top of the draft and so much given up to get up there. But
we can think back 20 years now or 18 years.
Right.
If Bill Polian's your general manager, you're going to be looking at tape. They weren't looking at tape until 11:59, but they were looking at tape till 10 o'clock in the evening, figuratively, in 1998. So I agree with Mora. But again, I think the Rams have an idea who they want, and hey, it could well be Wentz. I just don't happen to know for sure who it is.
And if the other team in is Philadelphia, and John Robinson said in his the general manager of the Titans said that earlier today that there were 2 other teams in on it, right, Peter?
Right.
And if the other team is San Francisco, think about this. I said this earlier on in the show, that the way that the Rams were able to outbid the Eagles was with a second-round choice they got from Chip Kelly for Sam Bradford. And if the other team in is San Francisco also, Peter, San Francisco beat the Rams in Week 17 last year after they blocked a field goal for the Rams that would have put them up by 6. And Blaine Gabbert drove them down the field, tied the game, went into overtime, won that game. And had the Rams not lost and won that game, they might have been too far down to go ahead and outbid San Francisco for this.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But, Rich, I'll just tell you this, that I had a long conversation with John Robinson on Sunday morning at the scouting combine, probably 90 minutes. And what really came through to me is, two things really came through. Number one, he absolutely was going to listen to offers because he realizes how much work needs to be done on this roster from top to bottom. So when you think about what he did, okay, let's say he sacrificed, and let's pick a guy, Laramie Tunsil. Let's say he sacrificed the best tackle in the draft this year for, let's say, the fourth best tackle or third best tackle in the draft this year. Let's just say, okay, if he did that, what he got in return was 5 additional picks in the top 3 rounds of the next 2 drafts. So, in my opinion, I think that for Tennessee, this is a great trade. But also, Rich, I've heard and seen a lot of people, both on Twitter and writing, that Robinson took the Rams to the cleaners. Well, and somebody asked me on Twitter, what do you think Belichick would have done? And I said, well, that's an easy question to ask if Tom Brady's your quarterback. And to a lesser degree, it's an easy thing to answer and to find if you have your quarterback. Like, it's easy for the Atlanta Falcons to say, or whoever would say, if they've got their long-term quarterback, it's easy to say that the Rams got fleeced. Well, the Rams don't have that long-term quarterback, and without that, they're no better than third in their division.
But they also got a treasure trove of picks, as you know, for RG3 and filled up this roster with a lot of young kids with a lot of potential and a lot of a high ceiling. Aaron Donald may be the best at his position as well. It's not like the cupboard's bare and they've got to fill a lot of holes. The hole that maybe, you never know, that they needed to fill is going to get filled 2 weeks from tonight in Chicago. And it's going to be one of those typical, let's see a few years down the road before we get to see what this trade is. What do you think the Browns, Peter King, do it to? Do they take Goff or the other one? Should the Rams shock us?
First of all, I think the Browns favor Goff among the 2 quarterbacks. Secondly, I don't think that they are convinced at all that they are going to take a quarterback at number 2. I think they're very much open for business, Rich. And, if somebody out there, can find out who the Rams are going to pick, and let's say, because this is a beauty in the eye of is in the eye of the beholder, quarterback, draft, quarterback situation. Because think about it. If last year there were a bunch of people like Winston, a bunch of people like Mariota. And I think it's, to some degree, the same kind of draft this year with these 2 quarterbacks. So I believe that, and you ask, well, geez, why wouldn't Cleveland take one? I honestly think that the Browns are very hopeful about RG3. I'm not saying whether that's justified or not, but I don't think that they signed Robert Griffin III thinking that he is only a bridge to the next quarterback. They signed him because they think he has a chance to be that next quarterback. So, we'll see soon enough.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that the team that didn't draft RG3 years later goes ahead and trades back up into a draft to go in front of the team that currently has RG3 and is picking second overall anyway? It's amazing how
there's a lot of very interesting twists in this thing that, the team that got so rich 4 years ago off of Washington because of this RG3 draft, that team is probably the most quarterback poor team in the NFL as we sit here right now. I mean, maybe you'd say now it's Denver, but I'm just saying in the 2015 season, it became apparent that no team needed a quarterback more than the Rams did. So, there's all kinds of very interesting storylines made possible by this trade today.
On top of it, too, Peter, I mean, we've been talking about this for decades, about the return of football to Los Angeles. Will people care? Will they show? They need to make a splash. Well, I mean, this is pretty darn splashy. And a day after Kobe dropped 60 in his farewell and shows everybody what it's like to make a splash.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, it's like L.A. has been, I'm sure, in mourning over the Lakers being one of the worst teams in the league for the first time in years. And now it's like their cup runneth over. Kobe hits for 60, and they trade for the first pick in the draft, and now they're going to get their billboard on Sunset Boulevard.
And let's put the cherry on top of all this, Peter, while we're talking about storylines in history. The general manager that the Rams made the trade with was named John Robinson, for crying out loud.
That is very good, Rich. I hadn't thought of it, but
Come on.
It's John Robinson, and he cut his teeth under Bill Belichick. So, kind of an interesting story.
My guy, we keep talking. We're going to work Kevin Bacon here somehow. I don't know. I mean, Peter, thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Rich.
That's Peter King. Check out his story on the MMQB.com about how this trade came about.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.